Thank you so much, Comrade. Right, this week is a financial report. So, the country is, as usual, billions of dollars in debt to organizations such as the World Bank and the African Development Bank, as well as the Paris Club. However, sources do tell us that the reason why we are $10 billion in debt is because the government delegation sent to France to service the debt unfortunately misunderstand the assignment, misunderstand the directions, and instead take our tax dollars regularly to service any club in Paris. Mthuli Ncube has forecast inflation to drop to 15% by the end of the year. Here's a list of things actually likely to drop to 15% by the end of the year. Number 1, the amount of tar on Zimbabwean roads. Guys, sure nyika yese marodi eso vangwaita ka network kemasendra in kudaro. How is that possible? We drive over so much jecha and brick, they should just call it Nziramabwe at this point. Number 2 thing most likely to drop to 15% by the end of this year is the number of Zimex boys who claim to be investing in cryptocurrency. And of course, by investing in cryptocurrency, they really just mean retweeting quotes from Rich Dad Poor Dad. And by retweeting, because they're using Twitter for ITEL, it just uploads as a WhatsApp status. And the third thing that is most likely to actually drop to 15% by the end of this year is MDC Alliance membership. Shame. But guys, to be honest, the USD is always greener on the other side. It's just a fact of life. Well, a fact of their lives. I don't know. Poaching is for everyone, not just for the Chinese. Lastly, the National Treasury has announced a projected economic growth this year of 7.4%. However, the IMF pegs it at 3.1%. Naturally, men and women across the country are in a heated debate about how important or significant the difference between 7 and 3 really is. However, everybody has agreed that chikuru chiri mukukura kwacho. That's really most important. Thank you so much, Comrade. This has been the Financial Report. Back to you.
My people, comrades and friends, welcome to another episode of The Week with me, Comrade Fatso. And it's been a very, Malaba week. There were court cases, accusations of captured judges, and press statements by the hurument against press statements by the hurument. But let's start here. Chief Justice Malaba, aka the People's Sekuru, got a surprise birthday present last week when the courts told him to retire. Yes, the people won a great victory last week after a spirited campaign by activists and lawyers against the illegal extension of Chief Justice Malaba's tenure by ED. ZANU-PF had recently pushed through constitutional amendments so they could extend Malaba's term of office just so that he could help them make something by 2023. The Zimbabwean version of the Avengers came together. Activists, lawyers, and some guy called Fred. And they united to fight against the hurument. The crew included Tendai Biti, Doug Coltart, Musa Kika, and Advocate Fulcrum and the Pith. What's his real name actually? They challenged Malaba's extension late into the night, arguing the case till well after midnight on Friday, truly embracing the spirit of Woza Friday. I mean, it was like a homegrown Zimbabwean legal drama made for Netflix, like Suits, except the judges are wearing horsehair on their heads and Tendai Biti is like a slightly less slim version of Harvey Specter, but just as arrogant. Zimbabweans were following it more closely than a Njozu livestream. And then we were told we would have to wait until Saturday. So the people waited and waited till Saturday afternoon, and then the judgment came in via Twitter, and it was a go Gobora. The people won, ZANU-PF 0. Zimbabwe hadn't had a victory like this since the days of the Dream Team when we beat Egypt under Reinhard Fabish. The good old days. Let's celebrate victories when we win them, my comrades. Shout out to everyone who's been part of the #ResistDictatorship campaign. Salute. This victory is our victory. Everyone was celebrating except this guy. Ziyambi squared, came out guns blazing, attacking the judiciary. He threatened to take unspecified action against the 3 High Court judges, Judges Zhou, Charewa and Mushore, who had ruled against the extension of Malaba's term in office. Ziyambi went on to say, "I want to make it clear today that we do not accept the decision of the High Court. We have a serious situation of a judiciary that has been captured by foreign forces in this country." Hey, comrade, we agree with you that the judiciary is captured, but it's by you guys, not by my NGOs. Sounds like someone is worried about his job. But then there was a pull up by the hurument as ED literally threw Ziyambi under the nearest Zupko. ED tweeted, "In Zimbabwe, the independence of our judiciary is vital to the survival of our democracy. When our courts speak, all Zimbabweans should listen. The government of Zimbabwe wholeheartedly respects the independence of our judiciary." Yeah, sakataite Ziyambi, eh? One. Even Mkuru is disagreeing with you. Tight. ED's statement also came after a very measured statement by the Ministry of Justice Secretary, Virginia Mabiza, who said that the hurument strongly believes in the independence of the judiciary and respects the principles of the separation of powers as set out in the Constitution of Zimbabwe. Inonzi damage control, my comrades, because lawyers like Tabani Mpofu want Ziyambi squared to face contempt of court charges. So ED and team are saying, we are not the ones, and Ziyambi. We caught up this week with Paidamoyo Saurombe from Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights, who were behind the successful court case against Malaba. Comrades and friends, today we've got a very special, lawyerly legal guest. We've got Paidamoyo Saurombe from Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights. Paida, welcome to the week.
Thank you so much, Comrade Fatso. It's good to be here, and I look forward to a wonderful discussion with you.
So Paida, we know ZLHR, as the Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights, was one of the prime movers behind the successful case against who is now the former Chief Justice, Luke Malaba. So the first question I want to ask you really is, we've heard our Justice Minister saying that the judiciary is captured by foreign forces, aka ZLHR. I mean, you guys get named. So I want to ask you, have you guys captured the judiciary? Are you sponsoring judges? Are you buying them Sadzanima Guru? Are you paying for their wigs to be permed? Tell us the truth, comrade. Are you sponsoring the judges?
Thank you so much, Comrade Fatso. It's actually quite interesting that the minister would say that Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights is captured the judges is its way. And moreover, mentioning that Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights has now become a foreign agent that is in the business of capturing judges. I do not know where the minister got that kind of information that we've captured judges. For your own information, as an organization, we do not interact with judges, be it on their personal level or even professionally, that we sponsor any activity of the judges. We do not do that. We respect the independence of the judiciary. We also believe in transparency, and we believe no one should capture judges. So it is quite interesting. I think you need to get one of these days the minister to actually come on your show and explain what this whole capturing is all about.
Oh, okay. We'll try to get him on the show. But I mean, we used to think that the judges had been captured by the regime, but apparently no, it's you. But it brings me on to my next question: is why couldn't you just leave a poor old Luke Malaba to continue in office? I mean, we should respect our elders. Why not just give him another 5 years?
Thank you so much, Comrade Fatso. It's quite interesting. Why not give him just another 5 years? At 75, I think you will be coming back to us and saying, why not give him another 5 years? I recall some time back in another famous interview in this country, we also had one who was quite advanced in age who once said that so the moment you say just 5 more years, some will actually be having the hopes of kunanambira kusvika kuzana. But if we would look at why we would not do that, when you look at the history of our constitution making process, why we did have term limit provisions in our constitution is that we are operating in a democracy, and in particular when you look at the judges' clauses, why they should go at a particular age, and why the current application whereby we were saying the the current constitutional Supreme Court judges cannot benefit from the term limit provisions is precisely because the Constitution prohibits judges from getting presents or gifts, because the moment you do that, providing provisions to them in terms of gifts or some packages that are not given to them in the professional way that they should be given those packages, you are placing them in a situation whereby they should, when they adjudicate cases, they now rule in your favor because they have been given some incentives. How then do you now tell those judges to be independent, to be transparent, when you're actually providing some incentives for them? So judges' minds should always be clear, and the state cannot be seen to be offering some specific favors to the judges. And maybe Comrade Fatso, just for some little information, these term limit clauses actually started off here in Africa, in Cameroon, whereby President Wade wanted to extend his term perpetually. And it was then said that when you amend a constitution, you cannot amend a constitution for it to benefit the person who's sitting in office, in office. Because the moment you do that, you won't have control of that person. There are going to be amendments after amendments, and it will go out of place, and those people will never leave office. Hence, they should stick to their term limits. If ever there is going to be a benefit of an amendment, it should benefit those who are not currently in office, but for future generations.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, according to Ziyambi Ziyambi, you guys are just night lawyers in night courts. I mean, why can't you go to court by day like normal lawyers do instead of these midnight shenanigans?
Thank you so much. If I would perhaps also just mention in passing that night lawyers going to night courts and night judges, the interesting thing is that the statement by the minister himself was also a night statement that came way into the night. So it was quite an interesting thing that night lawyers were being attacked for going to court at night before night judges by a minister who issued a statement also at night. So everything actually took place at night. But if you would notice that this case actually started at 2:30 in the afternoon, we were in court at 2:30, and because of the preliminary points that were taken, precisely the recusal application, this court session then had to go on at night, and the matter had to be heard before the 15th of May, when the Chief Justice was turning 70 years old. So the court said it's an urgent matter, it's an important constitutional question, it should be heard and it should be determined, which I think was quite a milestone also on the part of the court itself, that it took the matter quite seriously, that we cannot park this matter, but this matter should actually be heard. So indeed, it had to take the hours it took. We only left court at midnight, and hence we became night lawyers and before night judges and the night judgment, and that's how it actually panned out.
So Paida, the Zimbabwean constitution turns 8 years old this week. What would be your happy birthday message to our constitution?
I want to wish the Zimbabwean constitution long life, and by long life I mean I want to hope that the current amendments is the end of the amendments that are going to happen to the constitution. Why do I say so? When you look at the previous constitution that we had, the 1980 Lancaster House Constitution, it was amended a record 22 times before we had the 2013 constitution. And now already, before our constitution even turns 10, before it even becomes a teenager, we have already amended it twice, but the 2 times we've amended it, Trust me, Comrade Fatso, we have already amended it more than we did the 1980 Constitution, because the second amendment on its own has got 22 amendments, which were the amendments which we carried on from 1980 to 2013. We've managed to do that only in a matter of 8 years. So I wish the Constitution of Zimbabwe well, and it is my prayer and my hope that the Constitution of Zimbabwe might be able to see it through and to actually see it through generations. It is a good Constitution. I do not want to, we cannot play around it. It's a good Constitution. When you read some of the constitutions in our region, it's a Constitution that if we develop it, if we implement it, we can actually start to see transformation of lives and livelihoods here in Zimbabwe. We can actually have a society that is balanced, have a society that is governed with good ethos and good values underpinning and undermining it. And we can create strong institutions using the very Constitution. So wishing the Constitution more successful years where we can see it being implemented, where we can see it transforming lives. It is a good document that should not be easily be tampered with. That's my birthday message for the Constitution.
Okay. So we hear a lot of commentators saying that we're in a constitutional crisis. What does a constitutional crisis mean? What is this constitutional crisis that we're in? Please tell the youthies what's going on.
Thank you so much, Comrade Fatso. We are in a constitutional crisis. Firstly, because when you look at the litigation that actually took place, it is the first time that we have judges of the Constitutional Court and the Supreme Court being part of an ongoing litigation or crisis. So you will then find out that there is an appeal that has been noted, and the question that is on everyone's mind is who is going to hear or determine that appeal. And when that question is actually asked, who is going to hear and determine that appeal, the current Constitutional Court judges and the current Supreme Court judges cannot hear that appeal because they are part of the ongoing litigation. As you'd understand that earlier today, there are Constitutional Court judges who have been appointed, but those judges are also part of the litigation. They cannot hear this matter in the court. That's number one. Number two, we are in a constitutional crisis because when you ask the question, can there be judges appointed to actually determine this matter in the Supreme Court, or if it goes to the Constitutional Court, you would then look at the law. The Chief Justice has to appoint acting judges to the Supreme Court or to the Constitutional Court. But the Chief Justice, be it the former, can no longer appoint those judges because he is out of office. The current acting Chief Justice is part of the litigation, so she cannot appoint judges in those two courts. When you also look at, can the President then appoint acting judges, the President of the Republic? Definitely no, he cannot appoint judges, acting judges in the Supreme Court and in the High Court. His powers are limited to appointing acting judges actually in the High Court. So we are in a constitutional crisis with that link. We are also thirdly in a constitutional crisis when you look at the statements of the Minister of Justice claiming that judges of the Constitutional Court or Supreme Court or some judges is it were actually captured by foreign forces. It tells you the kind of constitutional crisis that are there, because for you to go to a court of law, you have to have confidence in the judges that you go before. And currently, as things stand, you cannot have confidence when the Minister of Justice, who presides over the judiciary, tells you that these judges are actually compromised. So we are in a constitutional crisis at that breadth as well. And maybe lastly, the fourth point, we are also in a constitutional crisis in that a determination has been made that is an indictment not only on the executive but on the judiciary itself. Because when you look at the nature of the appointment that was said to have been made, It's an appointment according to the letter that the president wrote, that the Chief Justice himself wrote. So if, say, perchance, or it comes out that the Supreme Court says that the Chief Justice should continue up to 75, I really do not know how the judiciary is going to be reacting to such a move. He has been out of office, he comes back, and the government has issued threats, and certain rulings are going to be made. Are those rulings going to be respected? So we are in a constitutional crisis. For me, on those 4 pillars, that's what puts us into a constitutional crisis that you are asking about.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for breaking it down, Paida. That brings us to the end of the interview. But thanks so much for making the time to join us on the week.
Thank you so much, Comrade Fatso. It's been a pleasure being on your show.
Thanks.
Remember last week, that guy who got caught with gold kujosa? Well, a CIO agent has now been charged with the 11 million rand worth of gold that was smuggled to South Africa. The state agent allegedly used the Harare airport domestic terminal in order to bypass security. I mean, maybe he misread his job description. You're supposed to stop the smuggling, not to be doing it, Baba. But it was quite an ingenious plot, as he hid the gold in a bottle of Johnny Walker Red Label. I mean, doing the intelligence, my comrades. I see where he got it wrong. The gold should have been in the bottle of Gold Label. Then he would have been able to get it through duty free. We now cross over to the weather report with Chinai.
This week, the weather was my one comrade, as we saw a veiled fire that wanted to destroy our constitution. But luckily, we saw Cyclone Tendai and other young progressives coming to our rescue saying, we are ready to die defending the constitution. I may not be ready, but yeah, that's what they said, comrade. But more crazy weather is coming. Let's take a look at our weekly focus. This week, we're expecting to be going back and forth to the courts because some people still want to keep Machembere in their jobs. Can you believe that? Yeah, deal with the minimum Zimbabwe. But other than that, we're expecting the recurring weather of postponing Wopo's trial to continue until these guys vave kunyara. Before I go, comrade, mukaona marara mu road musanonge because zvaye kusungisa. Back to you in the kitchen, comrade. Musakanganwe kusuka ma plates.
Thanks, Tinai. In other news, Constantino Health Sector Ndeyangu Chiwenga threw a tantrum this week after discovering that Comrade Kuda Tagwirei was getting quite actively involved in the medical field. Chiwenga was angry after UBH Hospital in Bulawayo renamed a hospital unit after Tagwirei's Arundel Clinic. Aren't you guys playing for the same team, eh? Apparently, Chiwenga was fuming and told them to remove the Arundel Hospital signage. He said it was a public hospital and wondered why it was carrying the name of a private institution from Harare. Ah, more fire VP, hey? Defending the good people of Bulawayo from rampant privatization. Nah, it's just factional fights. I mean, Chiwenga is just jealous that his former top shatter is now top shatters with ED. Chatting. Simple. 2 Zinasu students were recently arrested for wearing, guess what? Zinasu t-shirts. So, in solidarity, students and citizens have been wearing Zinasu tees and posting the selfies on Twitter with the hashtag I wear my Zinasu t-shirt. Join the movement and support our students. I mean, t-shirts, they're our rights, comrades, eh? We died for these t-shirts. Thanks for joining us on the week. Follow Magamba TV on social media. I've been Comrade Fatso, you have been the people. This has been the week. Don't have a constitutional crisis, and futsek.